In this video, I had to take the entire steering column out of a 1993 Jeep Wrangler. This problem started out pretty simple, or at least I thought it was. The Jeep would continue to run after the key was turned off. So I assumed it meant, and doing some electrical checking at the fuel pump relay and the what they call the automatic shutdown relay, I established that the ignition was staying on even when the key was turned off, or the ignition voltage. So I got in, replaced the ignition switch, tested the ignition switch with a screwdriver before I reinstalled it. It cranked it up, then we shut it back off. Everything worked fine. I assumed the problem was resolved. Put the ignition switch back on the steering column and put the ignition switch back on the steering column, and it still wouldn't shut off. Apparently what's happening is when you turn the key lock cylinder, it's moving the rod, the actuating rod down, engaging the ignition switch to start it, but something inside that lock cylinder is not retracting the rod to shut the ignition back off. So in the process of trying to get at the lock cylinder, I got the steering column apart. You can see there's the steering column, and here's all the pieces that came out of it. But getting inside there, it apparently turns out to be something with some metallic gears that are engaging with the lock cylinder that move this rod here back and forth. The rod looks a little bent too. I don't know if that's got anything to do with it or not, but anyway, in order to get to that lock cylinder and this rod, I couldn't really get the steering column apart, leave it intact, so I said to hell with it, I'll just take it completely out, which is what I did. So the purpose of this video is basically show you how to get a steering column out of a 1993 Jeep Wrangler. So obviously there's two bolts that hold it in here, and here you get access from the bottom. There's a plug, excuse me, there's two plugs. Now, these plugs are part of your, they're not your ignition switch, they're your turn signal and other stuff. And so they came out, they're unplugging. You can see they're unplugged from the harness inside there. Here's one plug. This is one of the plugs here, and it was basically made up of these two here. This one broke. It actually broke in two. I'll have to figure out how to fix that. But anyway, so these two unplugged. The other plug is right there. So once you unplug these, unbolt the two bolts there, then you there's some bolts. I think there's 4 bolts that hold the firewall bracket in place. I did those. Actually, there's that comes out in 2 pieces. This is part of it. This is the lower piece. It went up underneath the steering column. Took off 2 bolts, and then the 2 bolts there, and pulled that lower piece out, and then the steering column dropped down, and then inside the engine bay there was a clamp. They clamped around this. I undid 1 bolt, pulled it out, and used a chisel with a flat end of it and rotated it to try to separate the jaws of that clamp to loosen up, and it loosened up, and then just pulled the steering column right out. So still not done with it. Just want to document how to pull the steering column out of a 1993 Jeep Wrangler, and I'm feeling a little bit like the Predator right now. So I'll put up another video once I have fixed this steering column and figure out what's wrong with it. Thanks for watching.